صباح الخير ضيوفنا الكرام، برجاء الوقوف والترحيب بسعادة أمينة محمد نائب الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة، ومعالي ريم بنت إبراهيم الهاشمي وزيرة الدولة لشؤون التعاون الدولي في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة والمديرة العامة لمكتب إكسبو 2020 دبي إلى مسرح الأمم. Good morning, honored guests. Please stand and welcome Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, and Her Excellency Reem bint Ibrahim al-Hashimi, Minister of State for International Cooperation and the Director General of Expo 2020 Dubai, to the stage of nations. Greetings, Your Excellencies, esteemed dignitaries and invited guests, and welcome to the 15th official Honor Day ceremony at Expo 2020 Dubai. This morning, we gather to officially honor the United Nations and their participation in this exceptional global event. Please rise for the flag raisings of the United Arab Emirates and the United Nations.
Sam here, my friend.
It is my esteemed honor to welcome His Excellency Mr. Najib Mohammed Al Ali, Executive Director of the Office of the Commissioner General of Expo 2020, for his opening remarks.
Your Excellency, Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of United Nations, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you today to mark the Honor Day of the United Nations. The UAE is proud to host Expo 2020 in the year of its Golden Jubilee and offer a warm Emirati welcome to the world. We are excited that you are joining us on this unforgettable journey. Your Excellency, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought on an unprecedented global challenge, but as an international community, we have endured. The UAE is proud to play a significant role in facilitating the distribution and mobilization of COVID-19 vaccines, having provided more than 2,217 tons of medical supplies to 136 countries worldwide since the beginning of the pandemic. We firmly believe that our Expo is a timely opportunity to work together towards addressing global challenges in the hope of building a brighter and more secure future for generations to come. Our theme, Connecting Minds, Creating the Future, sets us in the right direction. Today, we recognize the pivotal role that the United Nations play in galvanizing action towards affecting real change through value and power of multilateralism. Located in the Mission Possible Opportunity Pavilion, the pavilion examines how to unlock the potential of individuals and communities in creating positive change for people and planet. The United Nations Hub also focuses on programming that champions international cooperation and the Sustainable Development Goals for the decade of action. The United Nations has also partnered with Expo 2020 Dubai through a comprehensive program and a series of events and cultural activities that engage visitors of all ages and backgrounds, complementing and amplifying Expo 2020's program for people and planet. As such, I would like to express our appreciation to Your Excellency Amina Mohammed, Commissioner General Maher Nasser, Dina Asaf, the UN Resident Coordinator in the UAE, and the UN's wider team for the exemplary participation of the United Nations in our Expo. As a young nation, the UAE is looking to strengthen ties with countries and international and multilateral organizations around the world, with the aim of developing innovative and sustainable solutions for challenges ahead. As a young nation, we are distinctively positioned to help developing countries achieve their own visions for growth and have the privilege of being a major donor to economic development and humanitarian response globally. The UAE has been a member of the United Nations since the 9th of December 1971, and over the years we have built a robust partnership with the organization and its members based on common values, principles and goals, which have culminated in the UAE's unopposed election to the UN Security Council for the 2022-2023 term. The UAE is strongly committed to using our voice at the Security Council and the General Assembly to advance conflict resolution, leveraging our strong diplomatic network and deep ties with countries around the world. We are also particularly proud that our Expo is the largest ever single platform for the promotion of SDGs, which are featured in our Global Goals Week that is taking place in January 2022. The fulfillment of the SDGs is at the core of the UAE's government direction and the key pillar on the agenda of the World Government Summit, as we strongly believe that achieving the SDGs is a shared responsibility between governments, the private sector, international organizations, and members of the civil society. With this, I welcome you again, Your Excellency, Deputy Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to this historic global event, one that is a facilitator of profound discourse between our countries and the international community, and a unique platform for our collective contribution towards the making of a better and a new world. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. To introduce this morning's honoree from the United Nations, please welcome the United Nations Resident Coordinator and Deputy Commissioner General, Dina Asaf.
It is an honor to be here with you today as the world celebrates UN Day, and we have the honor of welcoming Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General. Thank you very much, Excellency, for joining us today. Please, to the floor.
Thank you, Dina. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellency, Reem Al-Hashemi, our Minister of State for International Cooperation of the United Arab Emirates and the Managing Director of the Dubai World Expo 2020. Excellencies, dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is indeed my great honor to represent the Secretary General, who brings his greetings, and the entire United Nations family at today's commemoration of the United Nations Day at Expo 2020 in Dubai. We are here in person despite the immense challenges posed by the pandemic and because of the immense efforts and vision of our hosts and all of you here today. With 192 nations represented, the Expo is an auspicious occasion to mark 76 years of multilateralism, 76 years of nations, of people working together towards a better world for everyone, guided by our founding document, the Charter of the United Nations. In my day-to-day role as the Deputy Secretary General, I have had the honor and privilege to engage with governments, with community, organizations, civil society, and private sector from all corners of our world. And the impression that I'm left with is one of multilateralism that is committed to solving global challenges, but sadly still struggling to find the path to effective implementation. In the space of 6 months of the COVID-19 crisis, cooperation amongst the world's top scientists had developed vaccines, and multilateralism had delivered a vehicle to ensure their distribution across the world, the COVAX facility. And yet, today, we are still struggling to get the resources and cooperation required to ensure vaccine equity and to muster up a recovery that would put us on a better path. In 2015, the landmark agreements were made for dealing decisively with the climate crisis and ending poverty by 2030, the Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda. And yet, since then, we have struggled to translate global commitments and goodwill of a host of stakeholders into national actions and international finance commensurate with the challenge. In the area of peace and security, we have the tools and the knowledge and the forums to prevent conflict and the incredible suffering that it causes. Yet, conflicts are on the rise, and we are experiencing the largest humanitarian crisis since the beginning of the Second World War. All of these points to an international order that is not yet capable of following through on its own best intentions. International cooperation and the United Nations have come a long way, but we have so much more to do. And that is why the Secretary General said, when addressing leaders, world leaders last month, that our world is facing a moment of truth, one that the pandemic has drawn open, a moment whether we either break down or we break through. The focus of the Expo 2020 on sustainability and connecting minds to change the future is at the heart of the changes and the transformations that the Secretary General has called for in our common agenda. His vision for ensuring that multilateralism ensures that we as one human family break through together. And what better demonstration of this than that we have seen over the past few weeks here in Dubai. Faced with a global crisis of confidence, of trust, and collective action, the Secretary General has called for a more effective multilateralism, a renewal of the social contract, a deepening of solidarity, a stronger investment in the world's young people and in future generations, with the achievement of sustainable development and the upholding of human rights at its core. It is only through inclusion that we can renew our social contract and rebuild trust. And inclusion can only be achieved if we place youth and women at the center of the equation. In the past months, with the pandemic ravaging every corner of this world, we have been reminded of the effectiveness of women's leadership in addressing this challenge with compassion, with evidence-based solutions, and with a leadership that brings everyone, leaving no one behind. And in the lead up to COP26 next month in Glasgow, we are both challenged by our young people and reminded by them that our actions today have consequences for their lives tomorrow. We must do better at ensuring both women and young people are shaping the critical decisions we need to make as a global society. What gives me immense hope is that the UN staff right across the world are dedicated to nothing more and nothing less than securing that decisive breakthrough. We are proud of the work of our staff, from troubled corners of Afghanistan or Ethiopia to the world of diplomacy, common ground and solution generation in New York or Geneva. From our teams on the ground in small island states to our UN country teams here in the UAE, providing tailored support to government as it strives to fulfill its development aspirations, its leadership in the world, and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm also very heartened to hear that sustainability is a common theme in all of our pavilions, and that the SDGs are incorporated in many of the Expo's presentations and its exhibits. I offer my sincere gratitude and recognize the leadership of the UAE for bringing the world together, nations united, here at the Expo, and for doing so with so much grace and efficiency and inspiration, and for being a generous and reliable partner to the United Nations in our humanitarian and development cause. Let us mark this day in full knowledge of the fact that the United Nations is not some abstract international organization, but the will and the commitment of nations and peoples around the world to secure a better future. Let us capitalize on the powerful opportunity Expo offers to unite in solidarity to end poverty, to protect the planet, to secure peace, and to improve the lives of everyone, everywhere in this critical decade of action. On that note, let me commend and deeply appreciate the leadership of our host, of an inspiration to many in the UN, of Reem Al-Hashimi, an incredible leader. I've watched you put on paper what the aspirations of this nation are, and to bring them to realization here. That itself in women's leadership really demonstrating, and for us coming of its time, in a time when there is a dark cloud, you have presented a real vision for what we can do to recover better. For how the world can look beyond the UAE, beyond your neighborhood, into this global community. You've given hope, you've given a sense of dignity to everyone that has participated in this Expo. And on this incredible day of the UN, of which we are all a part of, we need that. We need that hope to carry with us, and that's what we do. People may be wondering why I'm dressed in orange today, but I do say that the sun rises in orange and it sets in orange. We have a heart that is blue. It is about the UN, and it is about what we do between the aspirations that we hold in this world, but the very stark realities of the battle and the fight that we have to do. And I can't think of a better person to congratulate more at the helm of affairs in this Expo than Reem. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to move forward with hope.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary General. We are now pleased to share a cultural performance selected by the United Nations. The EYSO was the first of its kind in the UAE when it was established in 1994 with only 12 students. By 1998, membership increased to nearly 50 musicians from more than 30 nationalities living in the UAE, who played a major role in the development of the musical culture in Dubai through the many concerts performed. Since the year 2000, the orchestra has performed at international youth music festivals and events, proudly representing the UAE classical musical scene. Through the years, more than 500 violinists have joined the EYSO and the National Conservatory under the tutorage of Mr. Riyad Qudsi. Several of these members have continued to pursue higher musical education in advanced music universities abroad and have become world-renowned musicians. Without further ado, please welcome the Emirates Youth Symphony Orchestra to the stage of nations. Thank you to the Emirates Youth Symphony Orchestra for the outstanding performance. With this, we conclude the official Honor Day ceremony of the United Nations. Please join me once again in thanking everyone who's joined us here this morning, and welcome to Expo 2020 Dubai.